Hello and welcome to Real People. My name is Dwight Presser. On today's show we have a guest named Rocky Evans. Rocky Evans is a world champion skydiver who later became known as the man who survived the worst balloon accident in the history of the sport. We're going to have him tell his story today on the show about how he got into skydiving and how he ended up on the balloon that day. So I'm going to talk to Rocky right now. Welcome on the show, Rocky.
Good morning, Dwight.
So tell me, you have been an adventurer most of your life.
Well, I've been a skydiver most of my life. Yeah.
Okay, well that to me is a great adventure. I mean,
Okay.
you said that at one point in your life you actually were scuba diving and then you totally changed directions and went up in the air.
That's true. I did, yeah. In 1970, I made my first skydive in May of 1970, and I haven't quit, well, to this day, 8,300 jumps later, so.
Well, for that first jump, nobody needed a cattle prod to get you onto the airplane, now, did they?
No, it was, matter of fact, it was the exact opposite. It was hard to find a place to skydive back in 1970. I mean, not everybody did it, and it was more so a military thing in those days than it was sport.
Right.
So I got some information on where to go up in Austin Lake, Portage, Michigan, at the Western Michigan University Skydiving Club, and paid my $25 and got my parents to sign a waiver at 16, and I started.
But did this idea just jump into your head, or did you have a friend that kind of coaxed you into it?
It was a friend of mine, and he had told me that he had an acquaintance who had a military parachute and that he was going to be able to make that jump with him. And that intrigued me at that moment, you know, and I was, you know, an enthusiastic young man, and I like to go out and reach out a little bit. I don't know if you call it daring or what, but that's what I would have liked to have done. And I worked for a tool and die factory, and there was a machinist in there who had told me that he kept his airplane at Austin Lake, Michigan, and that's where they skydived. So my friend and myself, we got our $25 together and we drove up, and voila.
So this machinist that you worked with was actually the guy that had the airplane.
He had his own personal airplane, but he wasn't a parachutist at all or skydiver, but his airplane was kept at that facility where they did do the jumping.
So this airplane wasn't rigged or designed for jumping out of?
No, this was just his personal aircraft, but there was airplanes there that were rigged for the skydiving.
But that's not the one that you jumped out of?
No.
So were you the first people to ever jump out of this man's airplane?
No, because like I said, this wasn't his airplane. It was just his personal aircraft that he kept there on the field.
Okay.
Okay. The jumping part of the airport had their own jump planes, and that's where we went.
Oh, okay.
Okay. And
so it wasn't his personal airplane. He used a jump plane.
He just was a tenant on the field, and he knew of them there, and he said, go to Austin Lake, go up there. They jumped there. And
so this man would rather fly an airplane than jump out of an airplane, like the most of us.
Mr. Bontrager would never jump out of an airplane. No.
Mr. Presser would never jump out of an airplane either. But according to you, it's not the jump. I mean, for your initial jump, what did that feel like? I mean, I've been on a roller coaster. I've been on ripcords. Which is basically almost like a bungee jump. But I know that I'm tethered to something. I mean, what is it like just throwing your body into the heavens like that?
The first thing that happens when you approach your jump is basically you don't really know anything about it. You have no idea.
Well, you know that it's a long way down.
You sure do, but at the end of the day, you know, you want to try it. So you get your...
No, you want to try it.
I did try it, and I liked it. Maybe you would like it too.
I don't know, man. I don't even like looking out the window in a skyscraper.
But nonetheless, I mean, I went there and I was really ignorant to everything. I mean, I didn't know how the parachute worked. I didn't know anything about anything. And then I got a 6-hour course, and next thing you know, I'm in the airplane with a static line and 2 other people and a jump master. And yeah, when you leave the airplane, you do have a little bit of a sense of a rush, I would say. You know, like when you're a roller coaster going over that first hill. But that sensation it left me in 2 jumps. So I never had that sensation again. Well, and I don't know why that happens that way, because it doesn't happen to everybody. Only certain people get that little bit of a tickle in your belly.
Every time?
No, it's just for the first couple times. And then it just, and I don't know why, I can't explain it.
Yeah, I just think, you know, weightlessness is weightlessness, and you're going to feel your guts and everything in your body floating around.
Well, for me, it was twice, and that was it.
So, okay, now after your second jump, you obviously did a number of jumps because you ended up on a world championship diving team.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, from the first jump on, I knew I wanted to do it, and I wanted to continue to do it. And I had a friend that was close to me, and we did it in unison.
Now, your friend was the guy who had the first parachute that he ran up to you with?
He was my friend. I've known him ever since I was a young boy at 8 years old, and we played baseball, and went through high school together, and we were always out doing stuff together. And this was what we did. And when we'd jump, we'd always go together.
Okay, well, let's look at a picture here. Number 1, or 0.5, Steve. And maybe you can explain what we're looking at. Oh, any minute now. So apparently it was a small club there. There we go.
You can from the picture that you see here, the clubhouse is to the right of the skydiver, and a little bit of the hangar to the left of him. But what you're seeing here is about a 1972 picture of a guy suiting up to prepare for his jump. And you can see the parachute on his back. The bottom one is the main container that holds the main parachute, and the top one is your reserve. So everything's on the back.
Right.
And the sport has excelled so greatly to this day. I mean, it's just, the equipment is so foolproof that it's just very safe. I mean, it's from those days there to now, I mean, it's just incredible.
As safe as jumping out of an airplane
Yeah,
can
and
be,
this
I
picture
guess.
is taken in Portage, Michigan, at Austin Lake. And the lake is just behind that little building there. So the lake was real close.
So where's the runway in relative to that picture? I mean, is
Straight in front of this gentleman.
Okay, so the photographer is probably
Right.
taking the picture from
Yeah.
him. Okay.
Now, in those days, mind you, that we had started with round canopies, and they weren't very maneuverable. The forward speed on them was basically about 6 miles an hour. So if you had a 15-mile-an-hour wind, you were always backing up. So you had to use your skills at spotting and making sure you left that airplane in the right place.
Oh, to take into account the drift.
That's right.
Right.
Because if you didn't, you would be in that water.
Right.
It's a big
Well, is that up
place.
to the pilot or the guy jumping out, or you guys just have to
It's
know
the guy
when-
jumping out.
Okay.
You know, the pilot's flying the airplane. He's got his hands full. And you look out the door like this, straight down.
Okay.
And that's all you do. You look straight down. And
That
that's
doesn't
kind of-
bother you at all looking down a couple thousand feet. I mean, what's the average? Your first jumps are done from what altitude?
Today, in today's world, it's made 13,500 feet. It's a free fall.
Wow.
Back in those days, the accelerated free fall wasn't developed because we hadn't developed it yet.
Okay, we'll get into that in a
Yeah.
little bit. So you were actually involved in the new evolution of skydiving, the way it's taught today.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Okay, so now how many jumps did you do before you started jumping out of a plane together with somebody else and actually like controlling your body in the air and coming together in these, what do you call that? Formation? Relative
Relative
Okay.
work. Probably 60, 70 jumps. But don't forget now, this was a new age. This relative work was a new thing. The first baton pass was done in 1967, I think, or sometime in the 60s. That's where one person left the airplane and another person left the airplane. One has a baton, the other one doesn't. The one with the baton goes down and catches the other guy and passes it to him.
And that's it.
And, well, that's proof that he did it.
Okay. Oh, right.
See?
So, if the
So
other
when you
guy
land, the
can-
guy's, how did he get it? You didn't throw it to him,
Right.
okay? So, you know, and that's where the evolution started. And it went from there to 4 people going together to 8 people going together. And it depended on the size of the airplane for how many people you could put in the air at one time. I mean, you
Right.
can't put
Or the
8
speed
people.
you can actually exit the airplane.
Well, yeah, you can't build an 8-way with a 4-place airplane. You have to have an 8-place airplane. And
Or
they-
two airplanes holding 4 people each.
That's true. That's true. But basically, what we're looking at is a bigger airplane.
So now, but tell me again, I mean, the first time you did that, was it just you and the original guy that you jumped with going out together and coming
Yeah,
together?
basically that's what it was, the two of us. But there were other people on the drop zone that were doing it also. And we had a D-18 Twin Beach that held 10 people. So there was our end. So we took
Oh, you had a larger airplane.
Yeah, see, so we had this airplane, and we had 10 people that really wanted to do this new thing called relative work, and we worked together, and we practiced together, and we drank together at the end of the day, and we talked about it continuously because it was a new upcoming thing. See, there was only two states in the whole United States that had completed a 10-way formation. One was in Florida, the other one's in California. They got good weather.
Right.
We're in Michigan.
Right.
How many good days do you have in Michigan to jump?
Oh,
figure.
not too many,
Yeah,
really.
well, you figure that.
Well, you
And
told me that you guys would actually jump in cold weather. I mean,
there were days when we would go up in January out to the airport, and the owner, Bruce Dillon, would plow the runway and take the D-18 off that and land on the ice on the frozen lake. And then we would all climb in there and fly off the lake.
so now you didn't end up with a 2-man team. I mean, you recruited other guys.
Well, yeah, we were all part of it, but like I said, I mean, in the beginning when we had 70 jumps, nobody, these guys had more jumps than we did, and we had to get better at what we did to get accepted.
Oh, so
into
they
the
got
group.
you onto their
Yes,
group. I
see?
okay.
So yeah, and
So
then
you weren't the
finally-
nucleus of the group. There was a
Well, we had a nucleus group, but Rick and myself, we got good quick.
and
I
so
mean, they're 16 years old.
yeah. Well, you got good quick, and I mean,
Yeah.
so how old were you when you started moving into the world competitions of this formation flying?
20 years old. I
Well,
think
are most people that young, or they're?
now,
I guess
it
you have to.
varies.
That's when you're really fearless. I mean, that's when all that starts.
That's true. That's true. And you know what? I was also an athlete, which helped a lot because it's fairly not physical, but you do have to have coordination.
Right. Can we have a picture of that formation fly there? Oh, here's your team here.
Yeah, this is our 4-way team called the Rainbow Flyers. Far right kneeling is Sam Brown. In the middle on kneeling there is Ken Coleman, and myself on the left, and standing is Don Carpenter. These are all Michigan people now.
So this whole team came right from that same little airport.
Came right
there.
out of Kalamazoo, out of
Austin Lake?
Austin Lake Airport. Yes, sir.
Okay, so now here's how many people are in that ring there?
I think there's somewhere around, I'm not sure, Dwight, if you count them, you'll find out, but there's probably about 20 people or 18 people or something like that. But you see, that's the deal here is what you're looking at. We were jumping from what they call a Douglas DC-3, and it held 30 people, 35 people, and then we could practice, and that's what we did. And at this time, this is back in 1973, this formation was a big formation. Now
Right.
in 2011, over in Thailand, they built 430 some people in free fall hooked up. 430
Well,
some
that's good.
people.
They're starting from the stratosphere or something.
I
mean,
don't
like,
care, that's
20,000 feet up, or I mean, how
Probably
long?
22,000, I would think, yeah. But at the end of the day, don't forget, their skill level has to be that precise because everybody has a place to go. It's not like they just throw them out and hope for the best. I mean, this thing is really choreographed to the T. So,
Of course. So I mean, talking about the choreography, and then you and your 4-man team getting in the competition. How did that happen? Did you guys just think, hey, we're good enough? Let's enroll.
it's
Let's
fun-
pay the fee and get in there.
It's funny you ask that, okay? Because there's a story behind it. In 1974, we made a determination that we wanted to go to the United States National Parachuting Championships in Tahlequah, Oklahoma in 1974, like I said. And during this championship that they have, it was the second or third year that they ever had this relative work part of the nationals. A couple years before, relative work wasn't even there. They didn't even have that competition. They had the competition for style and accuracy. So we went, but before we went, we practiced. We practiced hard. We practiced maybe 120 practice jumps. Our four-way team, on the other hand, we had our little four-way gig going, and what we would do is when the 10-way would break up, the four-way team would close in, and then we would do a back loop and then go into this four-way event.
Okay, can we hold that thought right there, Rocky?
Sure.
At this point, we're going to have to take a break. When we come back, we're going to finish up with Rocky and find out how this little team from Austin Lake, Michigan actually traveled the world and competed in Europe and South Africa?
South Africa, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so when we come back, we'll hear the rest of the story.
The Asthma and Allergy Foundation of America has important information for the millions of people with asthma. You may not know there are two main causes of asthma symptoms: airway constriction you feel and inflammation you may not feel. Learn how to better manage your asthma by treating both main causes of asthma symptoms. Treating both causes can help prevent symptoms before they even start. And preventing symptoms could mean a smoother ride. For more information, go to asthma.com.
Hi, welcome back to Real People. We're sitting here with Rocky Evans, a world champion skydiver, and boy, does he have an interesting story to tell. So we're going to continue on with him. Now, Rocky, where we left off was you preparing for a world competition, but initially it started as a national competition. And what?
Well, you have to go. What it is that you have to win the national championships to represent the United States at the world competition, just like in the Olympics.
Well, like Miss America going to Miss Universe.
Well, yes, that's true, and that's what we have to do. But your question that you focused on here was that did we ever prepare to win the nationals? And yeah, we did in 10-way, but in 4-way we just decided to compete to stay jumping. We didn't want to. Our 4-way team didn't want to sit on the ground while everybody else was up competing, and we had a little 4-way team, and we thought, maybe we might do something. But our 10-way team kind of had a problem, and we ended up placing 6th, but we won the nationals in the 4-way team.
Oh, perfect. So it wasn't your initial intention to do 4-way, but that's just the way it turned out.
I think we had something like 8 practice jumps on the 4-way team. And we had 120 or something like that on the 10-way team. So now we're all riding home from Oklahoma, and we're looking at these gold medals that we've won. And we were all yucking it up and patting each other on the back. Look what we did with 8 jumps.
Was that just because you were the only 4-man team? Or there was...
No. I mean, there was 4-way teams from California. I mean, there's probably 15 or 16 teams, but we were just fortunate.
That must have blown away these guys from the better climates like California and Florida that this little team from Michigan won.
Not only that, we beat the Golden Knights.
The Army team.
Yeah, we beat the Army team. We beat everybody. We were the champions from a little town called Austin Lake.
So now this team from Austin Lake, then now you've won the nationals, so now you go international.
Well, we won the nationals, and we really didn't figure that we were going to do anything else. But, a couple weeks later, Sam called me and said, hey, pack your bags. We're going to the World Championships in Pretoria, South Africa. And I go, well, that sounds good. Let's go.
So how many teams were there in South Africa?
I believe 18 countries.
18 countries, and let's have a look at the results of that competition there. Now there's your team, and what's happening there?
We're getting the award, the gold medal for winning the world meet in 4-way competition.
So here you go from the nationals, the first world competition you go to, you win that too.
Yeah, it was a little bit kind of hard to focus and really comprehend what happened, but it did, and it happened, and we came home with gold medals there, too.
So the guys on your team, and we'll show them again now, after this one, did you just stay on the other side of the Atlantic and travel around to these competitions, or you came home before you went to Germany?
We came back home, and then we had to wait for the following year to come up in '75 to go back and compete again, because we had to win the nationals again to go to the next world meet. And that year, we did practice. And we practiced a lot, and we got real good. And when we went to the nationals, we beat everybody there. And then when we went to the world meet, there was something like 28 different countries there in a place called Warendorf, Germany. And we had, we literally had really good competition at the world meet, but they weren't as good as we were.
No, exactly. I mean, how do they judge this thing? I mean, did you guys just have unique maneuvers that you did, or was it the
Well,
color of your uniforms? I mean,
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah. And here it is in a nutshell. It's you leave the airplane independently and you come together in a four-way star, which is a circle, four-way circle.
don't you drift apart and do
No.
circles and come back in again, or just?
Well, you go to a four-way, and then on a count from the leader, you back loop. You let go, and then when you let go, the stopwatch starts. And then there's a different formation that you need to build after you've done this back loop. I call it the 100-yard dash of skydiving because it's seconds, like 5 seconds and 6 seconds. Like our average time in South Africa was just under 7 seconds, where when we went into Warndorf, Germany, it was like in slightly over 5. So
Well, that's like 1, 2. I mean, you're falling for how long before you gotta stop falling?
well, you stop falling when you hit the ground.
Well, I understand that, but I mean,
But-
before you just decide, okay, now I
Well,
gotta pull. I mean, how much time do you have to do these formations? Is that timed, and the faster you do it, the better, or the more you do before you pop the chute?
Well, you only do one formation. You do
Okay.
you do 2 formations. The first formation is where you come together in the four-way.
Right.
Okay, and then you fall as long as you want, but you have a time limit from the judges that you have to achieve this maneuver by.
Okay. We've got one picture from this Germany competition. You can actually see the
Yeah, they're-
helicopter in the background there. Now, is you guys practicing on the ground here?
Yeah, this is what we call a dirt dive, and basically what we're doing is trying to get oriented and get in focus and get mentally prepared for the jump. And that's the German air there, that's the German army, and we were outfitted with the air and the Luftwaffe with their helicopters, and they really did a nice job. You could land out somewhere and they would just fly the helicopter in and pick you up.
Oh, okay. So you're
So
not
it-
jumping. The helicopters were just there to transport you guys around.
Yeah, that's just exactly what they were. They were our transportation to wherever we needed to be in competition.
Okay, so now one of the guys that you jumped, was Ken on this team at all, or?
Ken's right there in the front on the left-hand side with the red and white container, red and white jumpsuit on in black.
Okay, now we're going to hear, if you could recall, I mean, a couple years later, I don't know if you kept competing or you were out of competition at that time, but Ken and you were building this new educational
Yeah.
system for skydivers called
Right.
Rapid Acceleration or
Accelerated free fall.
Yeah, okay. Accelerated free fall,
And
the AFF.
yeah, now this is good because it needs to be known. Back in 1979, Ken was working in Florida for a company called Strong Enterprises, which builds custom parachute equipment. And at that time, he had got together with a guy named Gary Dupree, and they had been talking about, look, why don't, we have problems with these students at 5 and 10 second delays when they leave the airplane. They have problems with their stability because the airspeed's so slow.
Right.
And Gary said, well, we had problems with them back in the 60s. We'd just take them up to 10.5 and pitch them out. And then they could pick up.
Not me, my fingernails would be like dug into the doorway.
Well, Ken was a pretty smart individual, and he came up with a 7-level progression scenario of how to teach someone to skydive right from the get-go from 13,500 feet.
A 7-step program.
7-step program. It starts out in the very basics. Your first jump, you leave the airplane, you do practice ripcord pulls, and you check your altimeter, and you really pull. But there's 2 instructors that hang on to you through this process. Mm-hmm. And as he goes through this, by the time you get off on the 7th jump, you can dive out of the airplane on your own, and you can do front loop and a back loop and a right turn and a left turn, and you turn and track and you wave off and pull. Now there's quite a bit of learning that's taken place, but it's only in 7 jumps.
Now, in your history, this is when you weren't here in Michigan anymore. Ken and you were setting this up shop down in.
DeLand, Florida. Yeah, sure.
Okay.
And this thing was not, now United States Parachute Association is our body, our governing body, not the FAA, but those people. And they were telling us, you need to stop doing this stuff because, you're going to kill some people. And we told them, no, we're not going to do that because we know it's a better way of doing it.
Yeah, it's a longer way to the ground. So
Well, it's just more efficient and effective. And when you get done with your students, they're way better off than they would be the old traditional way.
now this became known internationally, though, this system, didn't it? So you got students at your school from all over the world.
Well, you go over to Japan and learn to jump. They do it there. Go down to South America and do it there. Go to Russia.
But we're talking about back in the day when you guys were building up this system.
Oh yeah. We had a lot of people coming in droves to want to see this program and wanted to experience it and wanted us to teach it to them.
Okay, before we wrap up, here's a picture. Could we have slide number 6, Steve? Now, besides the skydiver, at one point in your life you learned to fly.
Yeah, that came later.
But just being at airports, I guess you had access. No, number 6, please, Steve. There we go.
Yeah, I did. This is a picture of myself and my partner in a 4-way girls team from France called the Coca-Cola team in front of my 206. And that's our jump plane that we used. And it's a good jump plane. I went out in Sacramento and picked it up and brought it back to Florida.
But now you put like you customized that just a little bit.
Well, you have to do a modification to the door, and you have to put a step down. You really can't see it in this picture, but it's up above the right wheel. And everybody stands on that step and goes off of that step in unison, together. And in that door, when you open the latch, the door will swing open, not this way, but up onto the bottom of the wing. And now the door is completely open, but it's floating up just below the wing.
Who does that customization for the airplane like that?
I did it.
The door thing you did?
Yeah, I built it.
So not only, so you're a machinist, an engineer, an aviator, and we're going to find out what else Rocky Evans is here. Unfortunately, we can't get through his entire story in this one episode, so we're going to invite you back for another show to hear the rest of his story. So thanks everybody for watching.
Thank you.